Are you fighting the white of the page?
Illustrations by me.
I don't understand this. I have an idea, a theory of where that came from. I've never fought the white of the page in my entire life. As a matter of fact, I like to use the white of the page to add contrast to the darkest, blackest areas that I put down on the paper or on the canvas or whatever I'm doing. I like the little bit of white in there. It's a stark contrast. It provides an area of interest when you have that contrast. So I don't quite understand it. I understand what people mean when they say that. They're basically saying cover up the white of the page with a color so you're not fighting the white of the page. But I don't understand it. Now you're fighting that color. So whatever color, let's say you put down beige. Now this is big with oil painters. Oil painters, they do that. They just cover the entire canvas or whatever they're working on the board with whatever color they want to work with. And then they no longer have to fight the white of the page. But now they have to fight that color, because usually what I see is like a sienna color or something that they put on top, a brownish color or a slightly reddish brown color that they put on top. And they cover everything, and then they start painting their blue sky. So now you're not fighting the white of the page, but you're fighting the sienna of the page. I don't understand that. It's the same thing. You're covering it just the same, but companies like to tell you to do that. I think that's how it started. I don't know. This is not... don't tune out immediately. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is my theory. It's a conspiracy, but it's mine. So what I'm saying is, I think the companies are lying to you. I think they just want you to spend more money. So they tell you, oh, don't fight the white of the page. Just go ahead and cover it with a bottle of paint. And then you'll have to buy it more often. So I think that's maybe one of the ideas. That's what they're doing for you. They're telling you, hey, look, you got to fight this. And really, you don't have to fight anything. You're not fighting anything. You're just painting. And you may want to use some of those light spots, and you may not. But I see this a lot with oil painting. I don't know if it's a big thing with acrylics or not. I know other people wanted to capitalize on it, and they said, hey, yeah, you're fighting the white of the page. We have this gray paper and this beige paper or tan paper, whatever, or black paper. You don't want you to fight the white of the page. So just use this paper. Now, I am all for some toned paper. I love toned paper, but I use it for what I'm using it for. It's a toned paper, so you have the middle value. You can go darker and lighter. It lays underneath. Sometimes the white kind of glistens through the paint, so if you want a darker color overall, you can put the darker color behind it, and now you don't see that much of that reflective. It's that, because in any kind of, even acrylic or watercolor, it's translucent, so the light goes through the paint and bounces back the white of the page through it to make it a bright color. That's why you say, oh yeah, this paper is bright white. When you paint on it, the colors are bright and vibrant. But if you want to dull it down a little bit, then you use like a tone paper, because then you're going to have a little bit less color come through, or it's going to be tuned a little bit when you do have it come through. That's what that stuff is for. You're not fighting anything. All right, I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm not fighting anything. I'm just using what's there, and I'll show you how that works. All right, let's get into it. All right, so my voice is doing much better, but it's still a little bit shaky. Don't worry about it. In this one, I'm going to use the white of the page. Now, I'm going to use it a couple of different ways. So the first way I'm going to use it is as a border. I like that look in a sketchbook when you outline it and you have a little frame around it. And it's going to accent the darkest parts of my drawing here, of my painting. And that's what I want it to do. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm also using it on the top part of the page, where I'm putting in a very, very light yellow ochre wash. It's actually the Mars yellow from Daniel Smith. It's a yellow ochre is what it is. But it reflects that white of that page back through it and glows a little bit. So I'm going to use it that way as well. I am covering the main part of the painting with some other color, but I'm not fighting it. I don't understand. It's actually very easy to cover. I'm not fighting anything. Now, I did think of one example where you might fight the white of the page, and that is if you're using like colored pencil or something like that. Listen, colored pencils, sometimes it's hard to fill all the little nooks and crannies that are in the page, so you tend to use something a little bit more with a tooth, but a little bit smoother. You wouldn't like use like a cold pressed paper because you wouldn't be able to fill all the holes, and in that case, you may be fighting the white of the page because every time you think you have an area covered, you look back, you notice all the white specks coming through. That I get. But for anything else, I really can't imagine fighting the white of the page. I really don't know where that came from. I really think it's just people who want you to spend money on extra paint or on toned paper, and that's what it is. Not that there's anything wrong with, and sometimes I tone a whole page before I paint over it. But it's for a purpose. It's because I want maybe a darker tone. Like I was saying, I already said that. I'm not going to repeat myself. You know what I'm saying. It's just sometimes you want a darker tone in the background, or you want something to pop off the page a little bit and you kind of blend it that way. Or sometimes you want to put down the lightest tones and have the darkest tones, or rather the medium tones, already on the page. So there are reasons to do that, but I wouldn't consider anything a fight. So I just want to say things are going really well here. I think that I just passed like 100,000 views on the channel. That's a great amount of views to have on a channel. So thank you for tuning in and watching and being a part of this. I did cut back a little bit to the once a week thing again instead of doing 2 a week because it was just a lot for me, and especially being a little bit, under the weather, it's definitely difficult to talk for a long time. So I did cut it back a little bit, and I may go back to where I do a second one every once in a while. But for now, I'm just going to do the 1 a week thing for a little while and just get my bearings back and try and figure out maybe a couple more projects that I want to work on that may take a little bit longer to record. So it's definitely better to have a little bit of extra time instead of trying to push out the second one and then it's not as good anyway. But thank you all for being a part of this and watching and for feeding back to me some information so I know what I'm doing and where you guys stand and what's going on. And I just want to say, this is never going to be a big production. I ever see those YouTube channels where all of a sudden they have like 30 people working on the video and you didn't know it? You said, oh no, this is just one person producing a video, and then you find out like 20 other people are working on it. No, that's not what's happening here. This is all me. I do all the recording, all the editing, all the everything. So it's definitely going to be subpar for that reason. Don't worry about that. I want to encourage you that you can always do this yourself as well. And this is just, I don't want it to make it out of reach. I don't want it to be like, oh, yeah, I would like to have a YouTube video too, but, I don't have a team of people to work on. No, you don't need that. You just be you in front of the camera and put your art out there and edit however you're going to edit. I'm not going to have any giant... You ever see where every other sentence there's a B-roll cut where they're like looking at fish in a lake and it has nothing to do with the video. They just cut to a weird scene for no reason. That's gonna happen here, I guarantee it. But it's gonna be on purpose. It's not gonna be because some weirdo just went on to Fiverr and said, hey, look, you want to edit my video? And every 3 seconds there's a B-roll of something weird that has nothing to do with anything. That's what most people do. I will not do that. I may outsource some editing at one point, because sometimes just the drawing part, that's a pain to edit out all the times my hand comes off the page and how long it comes off the page. And sometimes it takes like an hour, 2 hours to edit just the drawing part of the video. So I may outsource that part, but it's not going to be with a bunch of B-roll. I'll tell you, this is going to be a low budget production from here on out. That's just how it is. Okay, so right now you're wondering a couple different things. Number one, why is there a box of pens with not English writing on them on the left side, and then there's like a ruler on the right side, and then you could see my palette a little bit? Why is that? Because in between the washes, I have this flat looking thing. It's an iPad, not an iPad. It's a laptop fan. It's a little fan stand that you'd put your laptop on to keep it cool, and it has a couple of fans in it that blow into the laptop to keep it cool, to keep it, the temperature low. Well, I take that and I just flip it on top of the book about like 2 inches away from the book and just turn that on and let that dry the page in between the washes. So that's why that's always there. You see it in a lot of videos. I don't want you to be confused about it. I'm just a moron sometimes, and I forget that it's actually in the shot. So I think if it's not on the actual page, you can't see it. Obviously you can. It's right there. You're looking at it. But anyway, don't worry about it. It's just me. Now, my goal with this one was, how could I do something that looks almost like it would be something that anybody else would do, and then put my own spin on it? So how could I create maybe like a little, I don't know, like a silhouette of a foresty area or whatever, very loose kind of, but then I'm going to add an element to it that makes it my own, just for me. I'm the only one who did that, and so that's what I did. I decided I was going to put a darker color in the bottom. I always use these two colors. You have the Payne's Blue Gray, and you have the Perylene Violet. I love those colors. I use them all the time. They're two of my favorite colors for watercolor. So that's what I used, and I figured, okay, I'll just do this a little bit like this and maybe make it a little bit darker here. And then I went back in. I'm going to go back in and add highlights to that silhouette so that it's not just a silhouette. And some of those trees are going to pop a little bit. So you'll see how I do it. But anyway, I want to do something a little bit unique that maybe you don't see all the time. And so this is what I came up with. I hope you enjoy it. And if you want to try it, it's very easy. A light wash, so darker color in the front, and then go back to another lighter color, but still a little dark. And then at the very top, I put that ochre color just for that little bit of a glow. And you can do that as well. Very easy. There's not a whole lot of skill here. Then I put in just lines to make it look like trees. I turn the pen. Now this is a brush pen. So the Pentel Pocket Brush pen has real bristles in the brush. It's not like a felt tip pen. You don't want to do that. So you use the real bristle brush, or you can use a water brush and just fill it with ink. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. Then they sell a ton of different fountain pens that have a brush on top, but they call it a fountain pen, and you can just fill one of those. Anyway, do not fill a fountain pen with the kind of ink I'm using. I'm using the Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay India ink, and it's pigmented. You do not ever want to put that through a fountain pen. It will destroy it. It will make it non-usable. But in these brush pens, it works just fine, and I really enjoy it, and it's waterproof, so I could put water on top. It wouldn't be a problem. Not that I do here, but I could, and that would be fine. The white that I put on top is also a pigmented ink. It's the Zig pigmented ink. So, and I'll put those links down below if you want to see what I'm actually using. So you just make it look like a little foresty thing in the front. Not a big deal. And then you put a little drawing at the edge of the tree line, which is what I did. And I actually made some of that reddish color a part of that drawing, that part of it. So the forest looks a little dark, and then all of a sudden you get to the purpley violet area, and that turns into a drawing. You'll see. It comes out exactly the way that I wanted it to. I was very happy with it, and just added little things to make it more me, more what I do. So you can add little doodles all around it and make it look however you want to do it. And if you wanted to, you can go back on top of those trees with some gouache and add a little bit of like a brown gouache or something, and just mixed with white, so it's a very light shade, so it really pops out when you do it instead of white. That's not a problem either. Or you can use a white paint pen or whatever you want to do. This is just very easy to do. It's very quick and easy, and I enjoyed it, and I wanted to show you that it could be done very quickly and using the white of the page to make it all pop. You see when I take off the tape, that around that bottom dark edge, it just pops. You see a stark contrast, and then it helps that glowy area on top with the little yellow ochre. It makes that just shine a little bit. It's not so dark behind it. So I just had to put a little bit of color, and it really glows. It's very nice. So that's what I was trying to show you, and I hope that you try doing something like this, because it was I had a great time with it. I'm going to do more of these. I loved it. So thumb up the video if you're going to stop fighting with white things, and it didn't sound right. If you're going to stop fighting the white of the page, and you're going to start using the white of the page, make sure that you use it the way that it needs to be used, and don't fight so much. Everybody needs to get along. I think that's the main That's the main thing I want to tell everyone, is everybody needs to get along. You got to stop fighting. But I hope you give us the try, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed producing it, so I hope you enjoy watching it. It's a wonderful thing, and I really like how it came out at the end. I'm definitely going to try and do some more of this stuff. And I hope you do too. And if you do, please share it with me. I really want to get some more art from you guys to share. So please go ahead and share some stuff with me. And I'll put it up here or put it on the website or a little bit of both, whatever you want. And that's a wonderful thing. So, if you would like to join our community, go to illustrationsbypete.com. You can come in, you can put your own artwork on the site and promote it. You can find some inspiration in the free reference photos. You can just use them however you want in your artwork. You do not need to credit me. Or you can come into the forums and talk to some people and maybe give some advice and maybe find a little bit of information that helps you. So come check us out. All right, that's about it for me. I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next one.